Good eye.
We can start. And here we go. Hey, everybody.
Hey, I'm Jenny.
And Paul.
And we are with the Go Box Art Crate and Vinego Artist Bar and Studio, streaming from sunny Sherwood, Oregon on July 7th?
Yeah.
7th. So our last shipment of boxes went out today, so those of
Today's
you...
the 8th.
Today's the 8th. Wow, okay. Yeah. So yeah, most of you guys are receiving your boxes now. Some of the local Oregonians are receiving boxes probably tomorrow.
Yep.
But here we are, ready to instruct you through step by step the first project of the month, which are the summer ornaments. They're pretty fun. I just on a whim decided I would do ornaments. I like them all throughout the year. I like to hang them over the neck of a wine bottle. They actually look they dress up a wine bottle. They look really cute, and it's just a fun thing to do.
If we look a little bit glossy tonight, our air conditioning went out. I think something we had, for those of you not in the Oregon, we had 3 days in a row over 111 degrees. In fact, one day we had 116.
Record-breaking heat.
Last week, and something in our roof AC unit decided, okay, that's it, I give up.
Yeah.
And so, but...
We might glow tonight a bit.
We might glow a little bit. It's not awful. I mean, it's probably like 80, 81 degrees in here, but
not too bad.
It's not. It's a little stuffy.
It could be worse. It
could be
116.
Could be 116 again. But anyway, here we are, and we're ready to rock and roll.
Yep, let's zoom in and see what we're doing today.
All right, let's take a look. Zoom. And there we are.
Yeah, so these are our ornaments that we are painting today. And in your kit, if you get the subscription box, this is project number 1. And you'll have your 3 ornaments with your twine and all the paint needed for that. We don't use a lot of paint for this particular... This is so zoomed in. Let me move this over. Okay. We don't use a lot of paint for these because the wood really soaks up the paint. And they're tiny projects compared to a full canvas. They're pretty small. The yellow came out really fast. We don't need that much yellow. I just had a little issue with the paint coming out of the bottle really fast because it's a little more liquid than the other colors. And one of the things, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of jump between the different projects. Well, we'll paint one part of one, let it dry, and move on to the next, and just kind of flip-flop around until we have them all completed. 1 or 2 we might actually do start to finish complete. We'll see. I've painted these a couple times so far. Sticker this month is a Albert Bierstadt painting and quote. This is called Among the Sierra.
My favorite artist.
And your favorite painting, probably?
It's up there.
So I have to make this fairly transparent in order for the text to stand out. In fact, this is really pretty dark down here. It says, truly all is remarkable and a wellspring of wonder, a quote by Albert Bierstadt. This painting is it's at Yosemite. Super cool painting. Huge, I think.
Mm-hmm. It is huge.
So great ominous sky. I love that one. And then
I wonder where that painting is actually on display.
You could Google it.
I can't. My phone died and I left it at home.
Okay. So we've got our instruction sheets for this month's ornament project. I'll refer to those some, but I will go off the grid a little bit for those, just teaching live drying times and all that. So what I want to do first is I take a look at the project and the ornaments that I have. So we're dealing with a natural product here, and so having them be exactly the same is nearly impossible.
Yep.
And so they're all sometimes slightly different shape. This one's more oval than these other two. So what I'll do is I'll kind of pinpoint which project I'm going to put on which round. I think this one is a little wider than the others, and I feel like it would be a really good one for this particular scene. This is a little taller or oval, so the sky on this mountain painting looks really great to have a really big sky, so I'll do that. And then we'll leave the sky for the little summer field.
And if you have any questions during the process, Jenny's going to be teaching. I'll be watching the YouTube feed. So if you have any questions, make sure to enter it into the little chat there. There is a little delay, but we'll answer. And then if anybody knows where Albert Bierstadt's painting is...
Yeah, whoever has time to Google.
Somebody do a quick Google and share
Among
it for
the
us
Sierra.
in the chat.
Where is it now?
Because I would like to go see it in person someday, and I think I need to have the answer before the live stream is over rather than waiting. Cheers.
Cheers to painting.
Cheers to painting with our kuksa.
Yeah. Tonight we decided to bring our unbreakable mugs.
Yep.
The little wooden kuksa. Okay, so we should just use 2 brushes tonight. Your smallest detail brush that you have, and just a slightly larger one. I like to use a flat brush, but if you only have a round brush, it's no biggie. You can do it. Let's go ahead and wet this down first. I'm going to start with the background of the flower field. So we'll put that front and center. And I chose this ornament for that one.
I'm with you. I think that the ocean one will work better on my wider round.
Yeah. Okay. I wonder.
This is a terrible night for me to have forgotten my glasses.
Yeah, it is. So I want to make a really pale blue. So let's have a look at all our colors. Basically, we got the primary colors this month. So we're going to scrape off some white, pop it down next to the blue. Let's add just a little bit of blue to it. I'm aiming for kind of a sky blue, but just somewhere in that realm. It doesn't have to be exact. One thing you can do here is if you want to have it be slightly turquoise, you can add a tiny bit of yellow. I'll do that. I think I did that on the original one time when I painted it, just for fun. That maybe is a little too much.
It doesn't take very much.
Nope.
I'm going to leave it sky blue.
Okay. So this is a pretty good color. And I feel like I didn't make quite enough. Painting the background on here completely full is, it does tend to suck up the paint pretty good. So for now, you don't really need to pay attention to where the drill hole is. When we start painting the scenery, then you really will want to. I've made that mistake so many times. I get really into the project I'm doing and then realize halfway through, oh man, I wasn't really paying that close of attention to where that hole is drilled, and this one's gonna hang crooked. It's happened to me a lot of times. So I'll try to head that off. Now you don't have to do a solid all blue sky here. If you wanted to play around with maybe adding some slashes of just plain blue in there, like I did now, that's totally fine. You can see that just makes it a little more textured. And if you don't have the wood rounds, run in your backyard with a chainsaw. No, you can use dry river rocks. These look really cute on those. I love painting on river rocks. I've done that a lot and then just left them in random places.
If you decide to go into your backyard with your chainsaw, make sure you wear the appropriate safety equipment, your hearing protection, eye protection. Also wear chaps that are approved.
That's right.
We want to make sure that nobody gets hurt on Jenny's suggestion.
All right, so we're going to work kind of quickly on this because I don't want the background to dry quite yet before we do this next step.
Too late.
So this printed really dark, but we're here. We're going to move to here. And what we want to do is we want to wash the brush. We're going to mix the brilliant blue and yellow to make green. My paper towel is hiding under this palette.
How dare you? Sneaky little towel.
So you can make a green you like. I usually use a little more blue to yellow for mine.
Me too.
And when you dab this on here, because this, in theory, should still be wet. Oh, that was so hot in here, it might be dry.
Mine's dry
It'll
already.
turn kind of pale green. Now this is where you do want to start paying attention to where the drill hole is. And all I'm going to do is just dab some of this on here. I'm just going to kind of go in a little arc like this. Climb up on the side. This is just setting the base of the field, or a little foliagey area. So yeah, it's turning a paler color than what's on the palette because it's got the wet light blue on there, and that's what I wanted to happen. There. So you can see I created a varied in height edge here. I do like to climb up the sides a little bit. We're going to put some stalks for foxgloves in there in a little while, but we're going to set this one aside. And let's go to our Hawaiian scene. What did I call that one? Tropical.
I don't know, but
Tropical ornament.
Hawaii sounds like a great idea.
Hawaii sounds really good.
A Mai Tai on the beach? Are you kidding me? I know how it would roll, though. I'd get a Mai Tai, you'd get a lava flow. That's the way it always works.
So good. Okay, so let's grab our ornament that you have designated to be your tropical ornament. We're going to wash our brush. So I'm using the larger of the two brushes. So if I were using the full set, this would be like a medium brush. But this is our number 8 flat. You might be using your own brushes. If you do get our subscription, we have our set of brushes. You can have a look at them online. That comes with your first box, which we just started doing that last month.
Mm-hmm.
And that will last you, if you keep care of them properly, which they're not hard to do. You guys can do it. They'll last through, I don't know, a year's worth of paintings, maybe more.
Maybe more. I mean, I've still got brushes from 20 years
college.
ago.
Yeah. Okay, so what we're going to do first, we're going to go here. So we're going to create this light yellow band right through the middle, and then we create an orange. What this is down here, this is the sky reflecting on the water. So everything we add up here is going to be reflected down here. So let's mix white and yellow. Just create a light sort of buttery shade.
Butter.
Probably about equal parts white to yellow.
Okay. Sounds good.
Unless you want it a little warmer. It really is not going to hurt anything to have it be on the closer to pure yellow.
You know, before we get going too far, you talked about the brushes and how long they'll last. If your brushes do wear out, we do have replacement brushes available to purchase via
anytime.
our website.
And they're not expensive.
No.
Okay, so let's just draw a dotted line right through the middle. And let's think about this. So anything above this line is sky, anything below is water. So let's go ahead and just brush a band about maybe, let's say about a ½ inch, maybe slightly under a ½ inch, 3/8 of an inch upward. And that's just a guideline. You can go a little higher or not so high, it doesn't matter. And let's paint below that same thing. So we're just going to have this close to 1 inch band of pale yellow going right through the middle. And do be aware of the drill hole. I'm trying to do that. And I'm trying to remind you. It's easy to forget. These could be done on canvas too.
Oh, we've got those little mini canvases?
Yeah, I think that's going to be next month.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I've been experimenting with those. Okay, so have a look at it. If you decide, hey, I really would like this to be a little more yellow, you could even just glaze over it with some pure yellow in some spots.
You can wait for that to dry a little bit too, and it'll work like a primer.
Yeah.
So you can brush yellow on and get a deeper tone of yellow.
Yeah, you totally could. So now we want to make orange. So we're just going to add a tiny bit of red.
Oof, just
a little bit, because it will really overpower all of this. So I'm just going to use the corner of my brush and pick up, see that tiny little dot on the corner.
These two colors give us almost more of a corally.
Get a little more yellow in there. Yeah, partly because of the white in there too. You can maybe have less white. Maybe just do red and yellow.
Well, this is actually the red that we send out is... this particular red is a little bit of a cool red, meaning it leans a little bit more towards the magenta side, which is why we don't get that vibrant orange. We get more of a, like I said, more of a coral.
A coral color here is totally perfect.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then we've got this color. Let's just make sure it's darker enough. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use horizontal brush strokes, and I'm going to paint some sort of cloud-like shapes down in the sky part. You can see how they're broken up. Let me do my technical zoom in here. You can see that. Having a look at it, I think I want it to be a little more vibrant. So I'm going to make a darker orange by not having as much white in there. Let's see how this goes. Oh yeah. I'll often wipe my brush off on the towel just to knock off any excess paint. So these should look like those thin clouds that you sometimes see at the sunset. We want to repeat that down here.
Well, my paint is drying
Super
so
fast.
fast. That's just because we've got really stuffy conditions.
Yep. We can deal with it. So there, you should have something that kind of resembles that. And you can always go back with your yellow, with clean brush and yellow, very little paint, and you can glaze over the edges of some of these clouds if they got a little too harsh and don't look like something you like. Wash the brush off, and I'm going to make lavender now. So we're going to mix brilliant blue, red, and white over here. So we want to make a shade like this. I usually will start by mixing the red and blue first. So scrape some blue off, scrape about equal red. I like to make a more bluish lavender. So this is really red. I'm going to pull a little more blue in there. Well, I hope you guys have been enjoying this first. If you're in Oregon, which I know a lot of you are just because our company is based here, I hope you're enjoying this new week with no masks. It's so nice. I love it. It's been so nice.
Yeah.
Especially since it's summer and hot.
We're actually getting close to 2 weeks.
Okay. So I'm going to mix a little white in here just to turn that lavender. Do a little at a time because I went right for it and it came close to making it a little too light. Oh, it's getting real close to my green.
I take that back. It is exactly a week.
Yeah.
Ooh.
There we go. So scoot this over a little. There's your lavender. I have a lot of paint on my brush from mixing. So I'm going to wipe it off on the towel. And then I'll probably just re-dip the tip of the bristles in there. Let's start at the top. And as we get close to that orange, which I'm getting there, I'm going to break it up a little bit. I might actually add a drop of water to my paint because it's just hot and dry in here. So here's where things get a little tricky. Right now it looks like an Easter egg and I want it to look more like a sky. So I'm going to wash my brush off and I'm going to dry it off. You can have a little paint on there, it's no biggie. And I'm going to sort of use my damp brush to smudge this wet lavender paint down a bit into the orange. And mine dried so fast it's not really doing what I want it to do. So I'm going to take a little paint on the tip of the bristles and come down here. I had mixed a little water with the paint. And as I'm getting here where the orange is, I'm going to start breaking up these brush strokes, almost like you're adding more of those dash-like clouds. There we go. And then let's do the same down here. We'll start at the bottom.
As if blending acrylic paints isn't hard enough, let's add into the mix something that absorbs the moisture almost as fast as it hits.
And there's no moisture in the air. Actually, it's pretty humid here. It's just yucky. Still dries fast in the humidity. We needed to bring our little kiddie pool from home that we could put our feet in while we're painting here. That would have been so funny.
The dogs would be like, hey.
Okay, so I'm going to break this up again. So right now, yes, it does kind of look like an Easter egg that we've colored with a band of yellow in the center and all these other colors. But it looks right. It looks like it does on this center photo here. If you need to go back and play around with the orange again, just make sure your purple's dry or mostly dry. It can be a little tricky here. But sometimes you can take the orange and sort of glaze over.
Glaze it.
Anything that looks maybe too dark. But that works. That works for me. Keep paying attention to where the drill hole is.
Mine actually looks like a giant laser beam shooting through space, like in Star Wars or something, like when they blew up the planet.
Yours is nice and blended. You did a good job.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, and speaking of blending, I was showing you how you can go back and do orange. You can go back with yellow, too, and you can glaze over anything. I'll do that pretty often, especially if I'm just working on my own with no agenda. I'll just go back and keep touching up, and it's how you learn. You play around with what happens if I do this, and what happens if I change this up or glaze this here. It's all experimentation. Okay, so we are going to paint our little island in here. Let's go over to this ornament here. So this, you definitely want to use your smallest brush. And it's just a little cutaway island that's coming out from the side of the ornament. And it's plain black. Let's pick up our littlest brush. Go ahead and dip it in water. Then dab it on your towel so it's dry. And I like to pinch the tip of the bristles together. Make a little point. And my black paint is way over here. I'll dip that brush in there. I'm going to add a drop of water to mine because the top of it's already formed a little bit of a skin. And what I like to do first is I like to draw the straight line that would be the bottom of the land. And I'm going to do it, you can be halfway between the top and the bottom. That'd be pretty accurate, but you could go a little lower if you feel like you want more sky or more room for your palm trees. Keep your little drill hole in mind there. Let me scoot that up. I'm going to go a little below center. And this comes out to right about the middle of the ornament, or just shy of the middle. And then it's higher on, goes up taller over here, and comes down to a point down here. It's pretty crazy how palm trees can grow out of such shallow conditions. Like right there on the edge of the sand. You know, they're not like, there's no like mound of earth needed, I guess.
Yeah, we don't know how deep the sand goes.
True. I'm trying to remember if I've ever seen what a palm tree looks like blown over. What their root ball system looks like.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they have a fairly shallow root ball though.
Sometimes it's helpful, oh, my arm keeps sticking to this. Sometimes it's helpful to turn your, whatever project you're working on, whether it's canvas or these. I like to pull towards myself. I find I have a little more control that way.
And if any of you live someplace where there's palm trees, don't judge us for our lack of knowledge. We live in Oregon.
We only know fir trees here.
We know cedar.
We're jealous of you.
We know Douglas fir. But we don't know palm trees.
And we know lots of blossoming fruit trees.
Yeah. Lots of blossoming fruit trees.
So I did wash my brush because I had black on it and we're going to go for white. We're going to paint the stars in real quick. And those are super tiny. Those of you who are longtime subscribers, if you have your little white Posca pen from I think it was last fall. That was the white marker we used when we did the owl face and the one with the little mushrooms. And you can use that for the stars. It's perfect. You might need to shake it up and then re-dab the tip again because it's one of those ones you have to press up and down. But a lot of you guys are new subscribers. We just have the brushes and paint unless you have extra supplies at home. But I'm just going to dip the very tip of the bristle. You can see that tiny little dab of paint on there. And I've just touch this real lightly. Just play around with it. Sometimes you might have bigger stars, which means you're going to press down a little harder or a little more firmly, but other times you might just have a teeny star. I know a lot of times we use the handle of this, but I think it makes a little bit too big. I could do a few in there with the handle end. For some reason, all this week we've been at home. We've been watching shark horror movies.
Yeah.
We didn't watch Sharknado. Maybe we should add that to our list. Except I think you've already seen it, haven't you?
I haven't seen it, no.
Oh, I thought you did. Okay. So we watched The Shallows and 47 Meters Down.
See, I still don't think 47 Meters Down was a shark movie. I think that was just the shark was an element.
It was an oh crap, we're screwed movie.
Yeah. That was an uncomfortable movie to watch, actually.
Yeah, there's a lot of anxiety involved with that.
Yeah. The shark was part of the equation, but a very, very small part of the equation, I think.
Yeah. You can add a few stars down in the lighter part of the sky, but for the most part, they wouldn't necessarily be down there too much. They're going to be up in here. Yeah, the other one that we have to watch is Open Water. I know the story behind that one. It's based
That's
on
a true story.
Yeah.
Well,
those poor people got left behind.
That's based on a true story because nobody actually knows.
Well, they know they got left behind, but yeah, nobody knows.
Nobody knows what happened after that.
Did they drown or
did
something worse happen? I don't know.
Yeah.
Is there much worse? Yeah, there probably is.
There's 47 meters down.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so let's go ahead now and add the sun. And it's over here, just a little bit above the island. You definitely want to try to keep it in the yellow area, because if you're putting it over the top of clouds, that wouldn't necessarily make sense. But I try to keep it above the horizon line. So right about here, for me, it's just a little tiny circle in white. Yeah, so last night we changed gears a little bit up from the shark movies and we watched The Mummy because our daughter hadn't seen it ever. I had forgotten that movie was so old, 1999.
And one of her favorite YouTubers, Curtis Connor. Hey Curtis, if you see this, hey, what's up, buddy? How's it going? Good to see you again.
Here's the extra greeting for you.
Yeah, so you're not even a subscriber, but you got the extra greeting anyway. But anyway, he always says Brendan Fraser is his favorite actor and The Mummy is his favorite movie. So we decided to take a walk down memory lane for us. We were married when that movie came out. That's crazy to think. Right.
Okay, so I washed my brush. So you can wash your brush too when you get there. You can always pause this live stream if needed. Let's go ahead and use our black paint. We're going to paint the palm trees on now. So again, pay attention to the drill hole there. If you're in a warmer setting like us, you can add some water to your black paint, just a little. You don't want it to be super thin. You want it about the consistency of like heavy cream. And I will usually pull and twist my brush or wipe it off just so I don't have a giant glob of paint. Because I'm doing detail work here. We want to pretend like we're painting on a china cup because it's really small. These palm trees are so tiny. They're easy to paint, but the key here, very, very light touch. You want to use the lightest touch possible. So here we go. How tall are these going to go? Well, they go up just kind of below this drill hole here, and I like to make them lean a little bit. So I'll do one about up to there. I keeps dragging my arm through the paint. Sorry, I'm gonna reposition some stuff here.
Move stuff around.
Well, I usually like to show the colors I'm mixing.
Oh.
If I'm mixing. And then this other one you can either do it behind or, I'm gonna go behind. I'm gonna make this one a little shorter. So it's slightly different than this one, because on this one the shorter one is closer to the sun. And then at the top, you literally will just do these little curved spider-like brush strokes. They're like spider formations here. There.
Kind of sideshow Bobbish.
And if you want to paint coconuts, go right ahead. It's a little extra detail there. I got to put on my major reading glasses here to do that. But yeah, so we're getting close to not a lot left to do on this one. We do want to paint a purple shadow, so that's using this color here. If you've got some left on your palette, below. It's a reflection of the landmass. I didn't want to use black or even gray because I felt like it might muddy it up. Do you have any purple over there? No, you don't really have any left. I'll see what I can scrape up from this. But I'm just going to go below, and I did water down my paint just a little bit. Just go below this.
Just a wee little bit. I did 3 palm trees because I had a little bit of
Okay. Yeah, so then you've got a little shadow underneath your landmass. If you need to lighten it up, I mean, if you need to darken it up, mine's a little light. You can definitely do another coat. There we go. Gonna wash the brush now. So now we want to make this look more like water. The sky looks great. It looks like a sky in a very tropical, dreamy environment. We're gonna make this look more like water now, and so I did wash my brush, and I'm gonna use white. So I'm gonna actually add a drop of water to my palette. Let me scoot this over so you can see. Sometimes I'll add a drop of water to the palette, then mix a little white into it. You don't want it any thinner than like heavy cream. And again, if you ever need to like kind of knock off paint off your brush, just pull and twist, then re-dip the tip of the bristles. And I'm going to come across right between real light pressure. I'm just kind of dragging the very tip of the bristles across here. Oh, I guess I'm off the camera. So we created a little water line at the edge here. And then I'm going to continue across. You want it to be as straight as you can possibly make it because water does sit pretty darn flat.
Sweet.
Okay. And I'm going to add a reflection of the sun just by dropping down below the sun into the water, and I just go back and forth. So the reflection is sort of stretched down.
Did you see that? So one of my favorite songs is Beach in Hawaii. I wish you were here with me. You know that Ziggy Marley song? Do you know that he and Ben Harper are going on tour together? They have a song coming out together.
That would be good.
That would be a great show.
It would be.
Big Ben Harper fans here.
I saw he posted he's doing a big tour in Italy.
Ooh, let's go.
Right? Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to add our waves coming in.
Sweet.
So these are not hang 10 surfing waves. These are just little gentle breakers coming against at the edge of where the sand and water meet.
Little A Bay here.
Oh, yeah. And so they're wavy lines. They're not like kinky like ramen noodles. They're just kind of wavy, and I have two. And they start back here about the middle of the island. So let's go ahead and start with this one back here. Make sure I'm on camera. There we go. There we go. Okay, here's one.
Uno.
And the other one, it doesn't always work this way, but I try to make the bends in different places so it doesn't look like two parallel lines. Because if you've gone to the beach, which I know a lot of you have, the waves will come in differently from each other. So like this one bends in, so maybe I'll make that one sort of bend out. And undoubtedly I end up coming pretty close to that original one.
I mean, they're going to be pretty close because they're following the same patterns underneath the surface. So.
Yeah, they're dealing with the same conditions under there. There we go. And you can give these a second coat because it's nice to have these pretty opaque white.
This is the first time you guys have seen us. Give us a like, subscribe.
Why am I washing my brush? You threw me off.
Because I'm doing the YouTube thing.
Yeah. Gotta do that.
Gotta do that.
So one of the things you can do is you can create some other white little lines out in the water just to indicate or suggest current. So I'm using a little of my white on the brush and just breaking up the water. It's shimmer. That's what we'll call it. Shimmer from the sun.
That's what Bob used to call it.
Huh.
Mr. Ross,
Yep.
may you rest in peace. I'm pretty sure he's the most like rest in peace dude ever.
Yeah, totally. He's up there playing with squirrels. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to reflect the stars down on the sand. And I do this special little technique. It's super simple, but you got to work quick before the dots dry. I'll dot some little white stars on the sand, and then I literally carefully use my finger and just drag my finger straight through them. So it's like the light reflections are like the sun. They're kind of a stretched out reflection. Gosh, this dried really fast. Doesn't always work out, but you know, you can always add more. So yes, this part is wet sand. That was my plan here with this painting. And then lastly, we underline these waves. You can see there's a dark purple line under there, and that really helps make these pop out and look pretty good. So I'm going to wash the brush. I actually learned that from you when you did that very first haystack rock painting.
Oh, yeah.
I remember watching you teach it. I was like, wow, that's a great idea. So I need to make more purple. So that was red and blue. You don't need much at all. Just a little. And I want it to be lavender-ish, but maybe not as light as this one. Maybe just a little bit darker so that it stands out. Add a little drop of water in there tonight. That I don't normally have to do that when I painted these, but just in our conditions tonight, I'm adding water to my paint.
I just felt a drip of sweat roll down the back of my leg.
Oh, gross. We didn't need to know that.
Right from my knee, right down back of my calf.
TMI. Okay, so this is pretty good. I do want to clean my brush off and then redip the tip of the bristles since we're just using a tiny bit of paint. And I just really carefully, super light pressure. Ugh, I feel like I've got too much paint.
I feel like I need one of those like jeweler's magnifying.
Total jeweler's loop or whatever.
The glasses, not the loop, but the.
So it did kind of disappear over here because I didn't make my color dark enough. So I'm gonna mix a little bit darker blend.
Wow, we're only 37 minutes into this live stream, and we are pretty much done with 1 of 3.
Yeah.
And we already have one that's a quarter of the way done.
There we go. Unless you want to add anything else on here, your own little twist, it's done, and we can move on to the next one. We'll string our twine through them at the end. But let's move along. How about, let's go back to our summer flower field. That's what it's called. I keep wanting to call it summer field. Flower field. Okay, so we had our green that turned kind of pale green because of the wet blue paint. Let's take our medium brush again. Keep your little brush handy because we're going to use it pretty quick here. And we're going to make the blue and yellow green mix. So right here, this color. So I use just a dab more blue than yellow.
Are we going for a darker green than what we had before? Or?
You could, but really the same color will be darker anyway.
Gotcha.
So what I'm going to do, let me bring this over. We will make a little bit darker green too. Let's just dab some of this using the corner of my brush. Just little splotches of this color. Make sure you leave some of your lighter green showing through. I feel like my brush got a little overloaded and frayed.
Are you afraid your brush is frayed?
I'm afraid. Okay. Now, let's set this aside. We'll use it in a minute. You can set it in your water if you want. In fact, I'm going to because it's so dry. I'm going to dry out in here. Picking up my littlest brush, I want to draw the little stems and leaves for the foxgloves. It's kind of fun to curve them with the way the ornament sort of curves. Keep your little drill hole in mind here. I'll just come up on one side here with the little stem. If you need to add a drop of water to your paint, that's helpful when you're doing a small line like this. And I'll come up over here too. And I'll do another one here. There, I have 3. I like odd numbers. And then for the leaves on these, I'm literally just going to do double dots on each side, spaced apart. You could even do one at the top if you want, or put a flower there, or both. Those could become any number of different flowers. I decided they kind of looked like foxgloves, so that's why I made purple and bluish. I think my mom has both colors of foxgloves in her yard. She has the purple and the blue. She has a very English garden, and with the English garden there's a lot of wild looking flowers that are sort of controlled and a lot of different height variants. It's really fun to walk through her garden. Okay, so I washed this brush. I'm gonna set that aside. My wine dehydrated away too. How'd that happen? Okay, so I'm gonna take my medium brush again. And I want to make a deeper green. So to do that, I'm just gonna add a bit more blue to this green. You could even add a touch of red, and that will deepen it in a really nice way if you're careful, if you don't use a ton. But see that? I need to actually add more blue and yellow.
This red is really dominant, but it is a very pleasant.
Yeah, so this made a deeper, more muted green, and you can add some of that in there, or you can add more blue into some of it, just to change up the foliage, because different flowers have different colored leaves. You don't want too much of the light background. Like if you have background blue showing through, you don't want too much of that. Having the lighter green show through is totally fine. Having blue sky showing through is not going to look quite right because we're on the ground here. But you can definitely, you would want the blue sky showing through these taller plants. So this one actually needs to sit for a few minutes before we add flowers to it, because we just added fresh green, and as we all know, adding wet paint on top of wet paint, they're going to mix together in maybe not a way that we want it to. Let's go to the one ornament we haven't touched yet. So that is our mountain.
Sweet.
So this is a very cascadey looking mountain. This side is a little cleaner. I'm going to use that. And keep in mind, I forgot to mention this in the beginning. You can do the same paint. If you did this painting and you didn't like the way it turned out, flip it over and do it again on the back side, or paint a completely different version.
You could always, like, if you did it on the other side and didn't like one side, you can always sand it back off.
Yeah, you definitely can sand it off.
And the way I recommend doing it is, rather than trying to sand the sandpaper over the board, is put a piece of sandpaper on the table and actually just rub the coming from the woodworker.
That's right. Okay, I'm gonna put this on here and this over here. So we're going to make a pale pink. This one right here, kind of a bubblegum pink. We want to mix red and white together. Definitely more white than red. I like to just gradually add red because it's really easy to have it be really dark right off the bat.
Ooh, my round is not very round.
Let's see.
So I got to be careful on how I do this here.
There was one batch I got from this company, and they make them specifically for painting on. It was like, I think a drunk person drilled these holes in it.
Or somebody who just doesn't give...
just doesn't think about
just
painting.
Doesn't care anymore.
Maybe he's never painted on one. Okay, so we're going to sketch out a basic mountain shape. You're not fully committed to this shape. You can redo it, so don't worry if it doesn't end up perfect. One of the things I always want to talk about, though, is that mountains are generally much wider than they are tall, unless you're painting the Matterhorn. So yeah, it's a lot wider than it's going to be tall. Sometimes it's helpful to just decide where you want the peak of your mountain to be and maybe make a little dot. Something that only you can see. If you feel like you'd rather draw it with that small brush, you can, but I'm just using the thin edge of this brush. And there, I've made a basic mountain shape. And then I'm going to paint up from that with the pink. How high up do we want to come? Let's see. I think we come up about 1/2 inch. Yeah, about 1/2 inch. Kind of, sort of. I have tried painting different mountain ranges from different parts of the United States or the world, and I almost always just, my artist hand always reverts to the Cascades because those are the mountains I've seen.
Like, we literally see it every day.
Yeah, we can see it from our house if we're in the right room.
Yep.
And it's the right time of year. I used to be able to see it every day until a lot of the neighborhood trees grew in. That's okay. I like trees too. So here my edge is pretty frayed looking, and that's fine. That's kind of what I want for blending this purple into it. And yes, purple is what we're going to do next. And so I think the best way to do that, we've already got our pink established. I do want to use some of this pink for touch-ups later though, so let's mix some blue into like half of it. And you'll probably want to put a little more red back in and just tweak it a little until you get something similar to that color. I'm getting close. Need a little more blue, I think. Okay, so we're going to start right at the line of the pink. This is going to be a really poor fade for a little bit. We'll go back and touch it up, but for now it's going to look like really harsh, like a sudden stripe of bold color. But let's bring this all the way up to the top.
You know, we should do some road trips and vlog them for the channel. Like go up to Mount St. Helens and stuff like that.
In all our spare time.
You know what? Life's too short to just work all the time. We've forgotten about that sometimes.
What? We have a studio to open. But yes, it's a good idea. Okay. Trying to make the same color. Or similar.
But the funny thing is that I just talked about making recreation work. We'll just vlog our spare time But you know, there's people we have a lot of followers, and maybe they've never had an opportunity to see what Mount St. Helens looks like and what Mount Timberline Lodge, if you guys have ever seen The Shining.
The outside of it, at least, is
Yeah, the outside was the hotel in the original movie. The outside scenes were actually Timberline Lodge on Mount Hood.
Okay, so I'm going to wash my brush and dry it off. I didn't even wash all the paint off. I want just a quick wash, and I'm going to use the little bit of water that's on my brush and a little bit of paint here and drag it down into the pink just a bit, right at the edge where the two colors meet. It's not going to improve it a ton, but our next step will. So it looks a little better, a little more faded, but we need it to look more like this does. So I'm going to wash my brush. Let's see where you're at, Paul.
I kind of,
okay.
Yeah, I did not follow the instructions.
So now we want to go to our pink, which mine is dried up. I'm going to make a little more. So you want to make the same shade of pink or very close. And I find that when I'm trying to blend a dark and a light color together, I find personally I like going with the light color and blending it into the dark. But the key here, this is where you really want to listen, you want very little paint. So I'm actually going to wash my brush and dry it off, because mixing on your palette you're going to end up with a lot of extra paint. I'm going to dry that brush off, and now I'm going to dip the tip of the bristles into the pink. And oh, what happened there? Oh, that's just a little piece of the bark. Okay, so I'm going to blend coming up here, starting in the pink and working your way up with very little paint. Let your brush just sort of run out of paint.
So back to Timberline Lodge real quick. For those of you who aren't from the area and have never visited, if you ever get a chance, check with the front desk. They do have the fire axe, like the one in the movie that Jack Nicholson uses to break open the door and says, "Here's Johnny." They have one behind the desk that you can pose with. So.
Will they let you break a door with it?
No, I don't think so. And they always have 2 St. Bernards on residence, and I can't remember their names.
Heidi and Bruno.
Heidi and Bruno.
So I'm going to take, without washing my brush, I'm going to dip it in the purple. And right at the edge where the paint is just freshly wet, I'm going to brush a little of this purple. And this is how you really just work and work at the blending. Out of all the ornaments we painted tonight, this is the one that has the most blended sky. So do take your time and just flip back and forth between the colors. You can put on as many coats as you want, trial and error style, until you get it to where you have a fade that you like. So that's pretty much what I'm aiming for. Real close anyways. And I'm going to fill in the mountain next. And this is where you can reshape the mountain if needed. But here, I'll bring this up close to the camera, kind of tilt it. You can kind of see. There's my wet paint right there. It's dry at the top. When that all dries, it'll all be matte finish like that. But it's blended okay. I'm going to mix Brilliant Blue, that's your dark blue on your palette, right here, and white. You don't want to make a pale blue like we did with this one. You want it to be just maybe a shade or 2 lighter than this. So the white here is mainly used to heighten the opacity. So we keep the kind of dark blue color, but we are making it a little more opaque because of adding the white in there. Okay, let's color that mountain in. Now, like I said, if you need to reshape your mountain, now is the time. If you need to use a smaller brush, you can. I have a lot of excess paint on this. I'm going to sort of lay out where this field below the mountain goes. So I just drew a line there, so I know I'm going to bring my paint down to that line.
I love painting mountains.
This is the ornament that I very first made solidly crooked. So I do keep referencing where the drill hole is, so it's not too off base. All right. So I'm washing the brush. We're going to dab in some very transparent cloudy shapes in the sky to sort of suggest a galaxy. You can see them there. This is optional. You could leave these off. If you just are done with the sky and you don't want to do anything extra to it other than stars, you can skip this part. But if you want to learn how, I'm going to show you real quick. So I want to use very little paint, and I'm going to pick up the paint with the corner of this brush. It's just white. And let's see, I'm going to keep this in the dark purple area, and look what I'm doing. I'm just dabbing my brush around, and then I'll use my finger too. But I just need to keep repeating this. See, if you smudge it around with your finger, you get that sort of cloudy look. This is one of those areas that doesn't have light pollution from the city, so you can actually see the Milky Way. There's a lot of stars. There we go. I could keep adding more and more.
But then it becomes a snowstorm.
Yeah. So I think just a subtle approach is good. And if you remember stars from the tropical ornament, we're going to do them the same way. You can use the handle end if you want to do some little bit larger stars. They do get smaller as the handle runs out of paint, so that works in your favor. And the stars just go right over those galaxy clouds. And then you can do a few down in the lighter pink part. But yeah, the concentration of stars, you need them to be up in the upper part of the sky.
How's your kuksa?
Empty.
Pass it.
Is there anything left in there?
Oh yeah. There you go.
You know, I'm just solidly using the handle on all these, and they're turning out pretty good. So I'm not going to flip it around and use the brush end. So we did get a request for more kids videos on our channel.
We did.
I know we get a lot of views on those, like
crazy. Actually,
the elephant one is a huge amount.
1,000 times more views.
Wow.
For our kids videos than our regular videos. So, were you gonna follow up with more?
Yeah, I'm gonna paint some more kids videos. Or
Yeah.
kids paintings, sorry, and do some more kids videos.
We might do a subscription.
We haven't done one since the penguin, I don't think.
Yeah, we're thinking about reintroducing the subscription for the kids.
Subscription box.
So we've got the shipping process all.
Maybe at winter or when the weather starts cooling down.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
Probably when we got the remodel done.
Yeah.
Take this back.
Oh, sorry. Let's paint in our green field. So it's the exact same green that we made earlier with just the blue and yellow. Your larger size brush, so your if you're using our red set, number 8, or I think it's number 4 is the one below this, you can use that too. And my palette just starts becoming a big mess here. I do like a bluer green here because it's dark outside, so it wouldn't be a super light avocado vivid yellow green. A bluer green is good. And I have my field, it's kind of slightly rounded. That doesn't matter, you can have it be straight across if you want. I do personally, I like to make it a little bit rounded. And this is something, if you wanted to add flowers, little tiny colorful dots in here later, you could totally do that.
Is there a band of trees at the base of the mountain?
Yep, we add that later.
Gotcha. Just checking.
The snow is what we're going to add next, the snow on the mountain. And you can use a combination of your smallest brush and the larger. If you're using the larger brush, which I believe is what I used when I made it, I like to use the chiseled edge. Really take advantage of the fact that you've got this razor thin edge, if it's not too frayed. A lot of times I'll squeeze the bristles together like that, so you get that really thin edge. And I have my blue over here. I'm going to add some more white to it. This can be a really pale blue. It's snow, but it's snow that's in a dark setting, so it's not going to be pure white. It's going to be more blue or light purple. What I usually like to do when I'm painting a mountain, I like to add this sort of glacier line first. It kind of sets where your mountain highlights and low lights and everything go. I do have my light source being on this side, so this side is kept a little darker, and this side has most of the lighter color snow. So I'm going to do it using the corner of the brush or your littlest brush. Just do a little backwards curve here. And then I have a lot of paint on the brush. I'm going to wipe most of that off and start over, just loading up the tip of the bristles. And I'm going to scrape down following the slope of the mountain, and let your brush run out of paint. That's how I got these dark streaks in between. I just let the brush run out of paint. Just use a little at a time. Pretty amazing how quick it starts looking like a mountain. And part of it is that ridge. The ridge just really helps set the half and half, light to dark. And then definitely leaving the dark blue streaks in there. If you end up with a really opaque light side and suddenly you've got half light, half dark with no other variance in between, you can take your little brush and just the darker blue and streak some of that back in there. I do want to add just a little bit of snow on this other side rather than keeping it one solid dark color. So I'm going to wipe off this brush on my paper towel. A little too zoomed in here, but then you guys can see it better. So yeah, wipe most of that off. I'll see if I can get any, yeah, I can get a little off the brush anyways, even though it looks like there's nothing on it. And I just do a suggestion of some light hazy bits on this other side. Then I'm going to show you how to take this up one more notch. You can leave it as it is. I think it looks pretty good as it is. But I do like to add... Oh, I just got paint on my skirt. I thought I felt it. Darn it.
No! You wore clothes that you cared about.
Actually, I got it off with my fingernail. I'm going to take this little brush. I'm going to re-wet it and dry it off so it's just damp dry. I'm going to take a little tiny speck of white on the tip of the bristles. See how very little I have on there? I'll hold it over something dark. There you go. And sort of dab it down this ridge. And then I'll scrape little bits of that down. So the ridge is the lightest part because it's going to be the light grabber. It probably stands up higher than most things on here. And it's really going to grab whatever light source is coming through there, which I assume is the setting sun here, or the just set sun. And you can put tiny little bits of white streaked in here and there, but always use just that tiny little dab. You'll be amazed at how much paint it actually is. And if you want to do kind of a backlighting thing down this one side, you totally can. I don't know what mountain this looks like. It doesn't really look like Mount Hood. It's kind of low and flatter.
It looks like Mauna Loa.
That's what it is. I'm in Hawaii again. Okay, that looks pretty good. Hopefully that went fairly easy for you. Mountains can be very difficult to paint, for sure. It's something that right out of the chute. Painting a mountain is very difficult, and there have been some students in classes that have done it, and their mountains look amazing.
And it seems like that because I think because Mr. Bob Ross is so popular on public broadcasting, I feel like that's something that people try first because he makes it look so easy.
Yeah, he does.
So people who are painting at home on their own, it's something they try first and get frustrated. Like, that didn't work at all.
Okay, so what we're going to do next is totally optional. I have this tree line in the back, or shrub line, because it's not necessarily, it's really hard to paint anything that resembles trees that small. So I think in the instructions I mentioned it could be just a line of shrubs. It is just plain old dark purple, blue, and red. So littlest brush. Whatever little bit of blue you've got. Mine's pretty polluted. And red. So you get kind of a grape soda purple.
Grape.
It doesn't really matter on this one if it's more on the red purple side or more on the blue purple side. But I do want to mix a drop of water in here, and that is primarily because as the paint has sat here, no matter what the conditions of where you're painting, it's probably thickened up a bit. So having that water in there will help refresh it. And then I'm going to pull and spin the brush, then redip the bristles. Let's start way on the edge because when you first start, it might be kind of blobby with a lot of paint, and it tends to be a little bit better if there's less paint involved. So I'm just going to jiggle my brush up and down roughly as I move across here. And there's a little airspace right now between where you can see a little bit of the blue mountain through there. I will fix that before I move on. I find it's best, I like pulling towards myself, so I'm actually going to turn this upside down. If that's easier for you, you can do that. If this is driving you crazy trying to watch me do this, though, I'll turn it this way. Think of this like purple grass way in the background. And now I'm just going to touch up where the purple meets the field. So I can see a little bit of the blue mountain through the base there. Don't aim for perfection here. It is almost impossible because it's so small. What we're doing here is we're just breaking up where the... Are you drinking a room temperature?
No, I put it in the fridge.
Oh, you did? Okay. I'm just breaking up where the...
Jeez, I'm not that pathetic.
How long ago?
Oh, right after we started.
Breaking up where the mountain and the field meet. It needs something there. Or at least in my artist brain it does. Okay. We're just about done with this one. All we have left to do are the fir trees. I could just move on to that flower field and we could finish that. But I think let's just finish this one while we're here.
Let's do it. We're already here. Why go somewhere else? We're already here.
I have 4 trees of varying heights, and I did some that were more straight up and down and then some that sort of curve with the ornament. You can decide what you like best or if you want to do a combination of the two. They just frame it very nicely. If you like it without, you can leave it without. That's totally fine. It's up to you. But I do want to pull aside a little black and mix a drop of water with it. Or 2. Now this is where a very delicate touch is needed. Pretend you're painting somebody's china cup that they're going to keep for 100 years. So light pressure. You can go from the ground up for your tree trunk or from the sky down. I do like to go from the sky down personally. Just a thin line. I didn't press very hard. And I'm just going to, at the top of this, I'm going to do a little mustache. So it looks like an arrow pointing out to the sky. Then underneath that, another. And I'm sort of dabbing my brush up and down. Those of you who have done fir trees with us before, it's the exact same technique we've always been using. Your tree boughs, as you go down, get a tiny bit wider than the one above, but in general, this is a very tall, narrow tree. So don't go too wide too soon, or it will cover up most of your mountain. Maybe you want to do that. I don't know. If you had some mountain problems, you can do that. You have my permission. This is a pretty big tree on mine, so I could technically not put one next to it, but I think I will put one, just a little guy right here. Delicate, light touch. Here's my drill hole, okay? I'm just gonna go ahead and drop both tree trunks. These do make really fun gift tags too if you save them and you're okay with parting with them. Christmas or birthdays. They're pretty fun to tie to a package. I've done that before. There we go. Let's have a look. Let's see it compared to the other. Pretty darn close. Actually kind of like the galaxy on this new one better.
It does look good.
All right. So if you need to pause the video, feel free to do that. I am going to finish up this last one. This is our flower field. This next part is really fun. It's kind of an anything goes sort of thing. You can do whatever color flowers, whatever shape flowers you want. And I'll show you what I did on these. Let me move this into the light a little more. We have like a weird shadow here or something.
Where?
I don't know. It feels like this is really in shadow over here. Okay. So, I have red, I have purple, I have pink, I have yellow, I have
that
blue.
that one light's turned. There, that's the way it's more like it's supposed to be.
Okay. Didn't make a huge difference.
No.
Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the foxgloves because they're pretty easy. I've got a little purple left over here from the last ornament, so I'm going to add some white to that and make lavender. It's maybe a little too light, so I'm going to throw some red and blue back in there.
My blue's drying out.
Yeah, mine too.
Thanksgiving
Good thing
gravy.
we're getting close to the end of this one.
Thanksgiving gravy. That poke through the skin.
Okay, so literally all I'm going to do is between these little green dots, or just like right above them, I'm going to do purple dots, and and I'll bring it down here into the ground. That will become my first foxglove. One of the things that I love to do, I'll do it in a second. Let me just do this next one. What I like to do, without even washing my brush, I'll dip it in white. And I'll just put a little dot of white. So it becomes kind of a light lavender highlight. Just because if you've looked at foxgloves, you know that like there's parts of them that are darker purple and then parts that are lighter, like the inside of each one is a little lighter. And then on this one over here, I actually made in blue. Just straight up, brilliant blue. I'm going to poke through here. But you can create your own color and type of flowers. There's no rule here. This is your little flower field. You can make it how you want. If you want to add highlights to those you can. I'll hold this up a little bit. I'm going to do the yellow flowers now, and those reminded me of brown-eyed Susans. So they have a little black center.
We've got some growing in our side yard right now.
Yeah, we do. And I'll kind of do a basic flower, like 4-petal shape, 4 or 5 petal for those. And what I think about when I'm planting this flower field, I think about how flowers will grow in little stands. So if you do, like, you wouldn't necessarily do, like, you would keep, like, all the pink flowers are going to be close to each other, all the yellow flowers are going to be close to each other because they're usually pollinating right nearby, or they're out of the same flower stand. Or maybe one blue way over here. I'll put the centers in those in just a little bit. But I'm gonna make some pink now. Red and white. Maybe I ought to drop a water in there. And you can sort of mimic a rose shape. I'll paint it on here so you can see. By doing these little rounded dashes that are really tight together. So those of you who have painted with us for a while, this is very similar to our peonies painting. We painted our flowers like this. So it's a little impressionistic rose type of flower.
I'm doing more of a lupin.
Oh yeah, lupins or snapdragons also kind of look like that, like those foxgloves. I do like to add pure red in there just because it's really like a pop of color. And I created these to look more like my mom has a lot of dahlias growing. This was fully inspired by my mom's garden. I should give her this. And the dahlias are kind of spiky, so I just created these little spiky shapes like this. So like this would be like a dahlia from the side. If you wanted to have one that's like full on front view. Think of it like the way fireworks are shaped. Those big mortar fireworks are shaped kind of like this. Or like something from Dr. Seuss. But yeah, I thought about maybe there were dahlias. Or this red would work great for poppies too, which poppies can be very similar shape to these, maybe a little more blobby and with a black center. There. Okay. Now I'm going to take the handle of my brush and stamp it in the black paint, and I will stamp a little black center in my brown-eyed Susans here. Guess it'd be black-eyed Susans now. And any other flower on here that you want to have a center. Maybe I'll give a yellow center to these dahlia-like flowers. That's cute, actually. That kind of brings them out a little bit more. Anything else you want to do? Just have fun and experiment. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just playing. The dots they're pretty fun because they really do add a little touch of magic. Fairy. That's what it reminds me of, a little fairy painting. Cute. So that is it. Let me scoop my stuff aside. If you don't plan on painting the back, you can sign them on the back. There we go. And then the twine you can thread through. This one's still wet, so I'll probably wait on that one. Sometimes I've had to dampen up the end of one of these with a little paint water. And I just tie them in a little knot. But you could tie a bow or however you want to do it. But there we have it.
Okay, I'm done.
3 cute ornaments. Let's move Paul's over here. We'll do a little side by side. Oh, that's cute. Yours is very Monet. Didn't know you could do such small, delicate work, Paul.
Especially without my glasses.
Maybe that helped.
I don't know.
I like that. I like that little glow. So you painted just some yellow green down there?
No, just some plain yellow over the top.
Yeah, that's nice. That really changes it very nicely. And your mountain shading is good. But you're.
But that one, I strayed completely from the instructions. Like I looked at that particular one, and I was like, I'm just gonna paint this one the way I would paint it.
And I like that you reflected your palm trees in the water. That's a nice extra touch. I guess we could have done that here, but
I did that before we put the waves in and stuff, so it was a little bit easier.
Yeah, could do a lighthouse instead of palm trees too.
Oh yeah, that would be good. But I always feel like a lighthouse, like
it's less tropical.
Yeah, and the other thing is like even just a regular sunset type of lighting like this doesn't quite work for me.
Yeah.
Like I want it to feel somewhat more gloomy and moody. Yeah, exactly. I think actually I'm going to be doing a lighthouse painting in the next month or two.
Yeah, Anna asked for Hesita Head, I think.
Yeah. So we live in, I mean, I guess anywhere you live along the coast, there's going to be lots of, lighthouses. But we live in Oregon has a particularly rocky coast, and we have a lot of lighthouses. Most of them are, they don't use them anymore because of GPS.
Yeah, and Hesita Head is like Central Oregon coast, and it's supposedly haunted by the Gray Lady.
It seems like a lot of them are supposedly haunted.
Yeah.
Haunted, like...
it brings the tourists in.
Terrible Tilly at Tillamook Head.
That's right.
That one's got a crazy story. So, hey, let's switch back. Let's look at the camera and say... Hello, my beautiful friends.
Thanks for joining us today, or whenever you join us, whether you do it another time.
Well, to them, it's today.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. So we hope you had a great time.
Yeah, and we'll be painting a week from tonight, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Paul's, gosh, where is your painting? I think it's way across the room.
Yeah, I'm not going to go get it.
It is like a Grand Canyon type of scene.
Yeah, it's just a kind of a desert-inspired kind of...
I think we called it Purple Canyon.
Is that what we called it? Yeah, kind of. I wanted to do kind of a desert storm is on its way or just left kind of
It
vibe.
Definitely has that vibe.
Yeah, because it kind of looks like the Grand Canyon, but it also looks like stretches of the Deschutes River in Oregon here, which is we've got some mesas and stuff like that. Not as grand as the Grand Canyon, of course. But
yeah.
Anyway, so.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week. If you plan to join us, hopefully you will. And I hope you have a great week and stay cool during these hot summer months.
And don't forget to subscribe.
Like our channel.
Get notified. If you are wondering what we do, this is part of a subscription box where we send you 2 projects per month. And they're brand new, original projects.
Yep.
Like, you're not going to find these on Pinterest until later when other people see it and go, ooh, I'm going to pin this for my list. We had one that Jenny painted a few years ago that went crazy on Pinterest, the Santa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It ended up on a, blog list.
Yep. So all of these are fresh and brand new out of our noggins, and, we hope you enjoy it.
We'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
I got to look over here and go zippity-doo-dah. Goodbye.